Hello and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time, well, to be fair, about 10 days since I've posted anything cool apart from the usual trash. Anyway, today we do have something very special. As you can see, an RTX 3080 Ti has found its way to me. Now, obviously, first off, I'm not one of those lucky guys who, bought this card back in the day when it was still retail price, nor have I spent over $2 to get this. So this is basically sent in by one of my subscribers, and literally this is an unboxing video. This card is not even open yet, so I get to open it up and see what the content inside is. We're gonna run some benchmarks. Now, when it comes to the benchmarks, big disclaimer. This is going to be a benchmark on a budget, and by budget I mean I'm running an i5-9600k, not overclocked, okay? So we're talking 6 cores, no hyperthreading. We're going to be pairing it up with 3080 Ti, so honestly guys, I have no idea which games I should even be playing on this card, because this is a 4K card. It's very simple. My 1080 Ti, I can play most of the games apart from Cyberpunk on 2K or 4040p Ultra within 60 frames. I would say 62. There's very I don't know, Ubisoft titles usually dip below 60. But again, this is only Ubisoft and it's not a surprise. I've made so many videos about Ubisoft titles that should not be a surprise to anyone who actually plays games at this point. So what I will do, we're gonna open this bad boy up first of all, because I'll try my best to actually keep my phone with one hand, because I'm not that successful yet. I don't have a colleague or companion holding things for me while I talk. But yeah, we're gonna open this up, and my plan is to basically play certain games with my 1080 Ti on 4K Ultra, and then the same with 3080 Ti. I know the results are gonna be out of this world, right? Let's face it. There's no other way to say it, but it is how it is. And I just broke the box. This is why you don't give me things for review. I will break things. Anyway, I'm gonna try to keep this in focus as much as I can. Wait, I have a better idea. Give me two. The better idea meant I just took off the box first, because I started to rip it apart, and as much as it's just a box, it might hold some value to the actual owner. So here we are. All the good stuff is in here. So let's take a look what we actually have. Some packaging and some actual card itself. Why do I have the feeling it's going to be a lot of cutting in and out? Because I don't really want to take this card out with one hand, but I'll try it anyway. I wouldn't say this is a workout, but there is certainly some weight to it. There's certainly some weight to this card, and this looks like a 2.5 slot card, to be fair. You know what, I think it's time to go for a weird cut again. Yep, so, to be honest, it was a bit more challenging to open this up from this packaging, because there's a very interesting seal on that packaging. Wouldn't come apart too easily. So, here we go. So this is the card itself. As you see, we have basically two 8-pin connectors. And this card do prefer starting from, to be honest, 700 watt power supplies. Apparently they can go as low as 600. If the only thing you're running is basically your CPU and GPU and probably nothing else. And it is pretty big, however, I must say, this particular card, the ASUS TUF, I know that it's been literally glorified about how good it is at cooling. And apparently there's no these little tiny pesky things that are killing the card or whatnot. Performance mode, quiet mode. And this is out of the box. I've done literally nothing. I just pulled it out. When it comes to connections though, this is a bit surprising. I just need to kind of figure out how I position my camera. So this is very interesting. So we have 2 HDMIs and 3 display ports. I mean, we basically are ditching the whole analog business at this point. Like, there's no DVI, nothing. It's just HDMI and display ports. That's it. I mean, I can't really complain about it, to be fair. But this card looks so massive. I don't know. It feels very, very sturdy. And I like the backplate, you know, I actually like black backplates to begin with. With all this, it's just, I don't know, I would expect something a bit more, you know, kind of like majestic. I mean, this card is something that probably you just need to kill a scalper for, but I think it's gonna just cook my PC, to be fair. Anyway, I'm gonna put this card away on the safety of my couch. Let's continue to see what's in this box, because the only thing that I actually took out was the GPU. This is where it was in. So if we lift this thingy, we have, what do we actually have? The gaming. What the hell is this? TUF gaming. Overclocking heated. This looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, to be completely fair. Certificate of reliability. Ooh, look at this. So it basically shows what kind of tests they've been running for this card. Okay. I mean, all this is nice and cool unless it doesn't turn on. For purchasing an ASUS card. ASUS support site. Gonna go for an ED anyway. And speed setup. Like a manual. Oh, it basically tells you how to connect a lot of things to the same card. That's just for fun and giggles. Don't you know what kind of language is this? Not English, that's for sure. I saw Chinese and Russian. Here we go. Connecting display devices. Look at this. They encourage using certain things. Display ports, HDMI. We don't even have DVI or D-subs. Come on. Anyway, so this is all there is in that box, to be honest. Not much, but what else you need, you know? Now, I'm not going to be putting this GPU back in yet, because we're gonna basically... We're gonna take this bad boy, we're gonna put it into the PC, and we're gonna run some games. So we're gonna look at the Cyberpunk, we're gonna look at Breakpoint, we're gonna look at Metro Exodus, we're gonna look at Crysis III, we're gonna look at Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed probably Odyssey. Basically, I'm not even looking at well optimized titles at this point, because otherwise I would just choose Horizon Zero Dawn. But we need something that, you know, always been given an issue when you try to max it out. And 4K for Cyberpunk, that's gonna be a challenge. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, here we are, and we are in Breakpoint. And the Breakpoint, we have 4K. Vertical sync is off. And temporal injection, so this is something I'm not gonna use for the simple reason I'm using presets only, so ultimate texture quality. And yeah, basically everything's on ultimate. So we're gonna run a benchmark real quick, just to get our baseline, how it all is and what it does. And to be honest, it's been a while since I actually tried to run this game in 4K, because I do have proof I tried to launch this game in 4K and it simply would not allow. It would just draw 1 frame per second. It just on these screens it wouldn't even do anything. So I'm happy we're actually past that. So I'm just gonna let's run the benchmark, see where we at, and we will have a pretty good idea when it comes to 3080 Ti performance. I'm kind of expecting about the same frames as in Odyssey, because it's I'm pretty sure it's the same engine. It's the Anvil engine, same as in Valhalla. What's the snowdrop? I'm actually losing my mind with the Ubisoft engines they're using, so doesn't matter. Let's take a look. To be completely honest, I think this is pretty good score so far. So when it comes to frames rendered, this is terribly low. It's we're basically not rendering any frames we should be rendering at this point. We're dropping probably a lot of frames right now. The CPU usage is surprisingly low, to be honest. I would kind of want to see them at least at 80. So GPU is trying to do most of the work. And as you can see, it's just not really working out. The moment we hit the big open spaces with a lot of reflections and things, it just kills it. But looks like we're gonna be about maybe a little bit below than with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where we actually clocked 41 for 1080 Ti. So I'm kind of curious. I think we're gonna be at actually the 28th frame percentile here, or 28th frame bracket, or sub 30 basically. Jesus, I honestly I'm running out of English to use when looking at these results. Come on, give us the magic number. And 32. Well, I would say this is a bit biased, so basically it's 30 frames anyway. So GPU is 98%, so it's kind of GPU bound game, which is pretty good. We are with Vulkan API, so it should be utilizing the whole 1080 Ti. But anyway, let's hit it with the monster now. In Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint there. You know what this is. This is Breakpoint as usual. So, and we successfully managed to actually, well, get the 3080 Ti. As you can see, it's actually 1 gig more than 1080 Ti, which is 11 gigs, and for 3080 Ti it's 12. 4K, that's just, I'm leaving all the settings the same way it was with the 1080 Ti just for consistency's sake, just to see how it looks. We're all on ultimate, with, well, basically everything cranked out. So let's just run the benchmark first, see what we get. So 1080 Ti actually got 32 frames at the end of all 3 runs, like all 3 segments. So let's just quickly take a peek, and looks like we're good to go. So let's run the benchmark and see how we get on. So if you actually remember in the previous video for Breakpoint on 1080 Ti, frames rendered at this point was only 2000. So at this point we are already at 6000 and going up. So the reason why you are seeing sub 60 frames is for the simple reason it's running a benchmark and a recording is going at the same time using NVIDIA Shadowplay, which will take off roughly 3 to 5 frames. Technically, I would say I should use a capture card just to, you know, not lose the frames, but it is how it is. And specifically, if you're going to record your own gameplay, probably this is the closest, well, score to reality you're going to get. Also, we are basically limited by the CPU at this point. As you can see, this card is insanely fast. And this is 4K, everything cranked out, so I don't know. I would say we are looking at some 60 plus average score, I believe. So let's see if that actually holds true. And I'm pretty sure that's gonna be exactly the case. So we need to be 32 frames from 1080 Ti, and the 3080 at 4K will give us 61 frames, which is, again, if we look at the way how this works, I would say this is very, very good result. And with 6 cores, no hyperthreading, this is what you're gonna get. So yeah, let's move on to the next title. And here we are with Cyberpunk 1080 Ti 4K test. Let's just take a look. So quick custom preset, because otherwise I need to disable vertical sync. I mean, I've explained this so many times. It's literally pointless to say it again. Everything's on high as much as I can. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all there is, to be honest. 4K and that's it. I don't know. Let's load up the Night City. I do believe it's gonna be crash and burn situation here, but hey, I'm expecting about 10 frames. Absolutely no regrets. 10 frames, that's gonna be it. Oh no, 12 actually. 100% usage, 6 gigs of video memory. Wow. I mean, full HD, like 1080p on everything maxed out is usually about 62 frames. So if we take that and we just add this 4K upscaling of everything, then obviously this is not good. Also, this is without DLSS or any other tricks that 3000 series might have up their sleeves. But yeah, this is 12 frames, pretty constant. It's pretty terrible. I'm not even gonna lie, this is not good at all. Okay, let's just quickly come out here. This is painful to play, but you know, someone's gotta do it. This is what 1080 Ti and i5 will give you, you know? It's not even about CPU, this is literally GPU just pegged out. 7.1 gigs of video memory being used. I can just imagine how amazing this is gonna be on 4K with 3080. Maybe, you know, maybe this will be the new generation's Crysis, the Cyberpunk, and if you can play that one, you can literally play everything. Wow, this is terrible. Yeah, I don't think this is playable at any point. Oh well. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's roll the beast. Let's do it. So here we are with the Cyberpunk, and if you remember, we actually got 12 frames on 1080 Ti 4K. So let's just go quickly over everything again. Everything is on high, so I'm not going to enable DLSS or ray tracing. We might do it, well, basically after we see how this goes by itself. So we're on 4K, everything looks good, so let's hit continue just to see. So obviously we know that DLSS will improve things and ray tracing will take away some performance. So with only DLSS on and ray tracing on low, I believe, should be fine. However, as you know, this is Cyberpunk, so nothing really much to expect here. So far we have 32 frames, which, whoa, hello, which is not bad at all. Definitely no more PowerPoint slide as it was with 1080 Ti. I wouldn't say this is ideal, and we are kind of dropping down to 27. GPU is pegged and CPU is not doing too much in here, so to be fair, it's kind of what I would expect. The same result was with 2080 Ti, so let's just change some settings real quick, guys. We just need to do it, I do believe, on automatic, and just DLSS automatic. I think it should be fine, hopefully. And we are already 77 frames in 4K. So absolutely DLSS saves the day when it comes to this game. And it looks beautiful. So 82 frames, 4K resolution, i5-9600k stock, and 3080 Ti. So for those who say, oh, I cannot max out Cyberpunk, yes you can. You just need to sell your liver, one leg, one arm, and a couple of lungs. Or the only couple of lungs you actually have. So yeah, I would say this is definitely playable. For 4K gaming and Cyberpunk on 4K, everything cranked and over 60 frames, damn, I would say this is an absolute win. And we're currently at, well, 77, so I'm actually putting it down to 80 frames because, again, I do believe we're more CPU bound than GPU bound at this point. Not too bad, not too bad at all. So let's move on. And here we have Crysis 3, and it's on 4K, everything maxed out as usual. Well, not really as usual, but it is how it is. So everything's cranked. So what we're gonna do is just resume the game, see how much frames you're gonna get. And I must say this game has never played nicely on 1080 Ti for reasons unknown, but it's kind of, every Crysis game is like this, to be honest, so not expecting much. I would say roughly about 25 frames, considering the engine it's running off. So let's just take a peek. And as you can see, I was pretty much correct. So we are at 21, 24, so basically sub 30 frames. It's basically a PowerPoint slideshow here. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is playable at any point, to be honest. Maybe for someone. And, well, the GPU is literally pegged out 99%. We're pulling 5.6 gigs of video memory, 4.1 on RAM, and currently we're at 26 frames. So it does look nice. However, we are upscaling things with DSR, so this is not native 4K, it's upscaled 4K. So obviously that will, well, give a lot of issues for the performance. However, again, 1080 Ti is not a 4K card, it's never been, it's a 4040p or 2K card. And yeah, at the same time,
that should be enough.
a solid dip to 21 frame. I think this is pretty much all there is. Let's finally plug in the 3080 Ti and see if we can finally look at Crysis in 4K, and we'll probably will continue down the mission, hopefully without stutters. Also, the game is on SSD itself, just to improve loading times, but apparently it's not really saving us here, so let's go for that. Crysis III. So 1080 Ti score was 25 frames give or take, and for now we are 4K with 3080 Ti. Let's just double check all the settings. 4K full screen, everything is cranked as much as we can. Very high 16. This is gonna stress out, well, everything, so let's just resume the game and we're gonna end up exactly by the dome, and I would say I expect 60 frames, to be fair. I mean, this GPU is just a beast. It's crunching numbers like there's no tomorrow. So we're gonna jump around, take a look at the grass and the lightning effects, and see how good or bad it's gonna be. And surprisingly, we have 49 frames. However, it's no longer a PowerPoint slide. 54, so yeah, I don't know how people are getting this game to run on 60. However, I do believe this is bottleneck of the CPU rather than anything else. And it doesn't feel like 40, to be completely honest with you guys. It is 40, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's one way to do it. That should be enough. Come on.
51. So the GPU is kind of... this is weird. So when I remember playing Crysis, the first and the second one was literally just bound to 60 frames. So this is a bit weird. Let's take a look how the cutscene looks and what frames we're gonna get on it. And the cutscene is 57, 58, 51, 50 frames. Can't really tell, to be honest. This is... it looks great, 4K. Kinda sub 60, I don't know. I'm kinda biased when it comes to Crysis 3 because it has the same frames, well, on almost any hardware. Probably we are running into some CPU bottleneck because this card should have no issues with it. So I'm gonna put it down for, well, roughly 45 frames. And we're probably gonna revisit this later on. Maybe there's something I've missed about this game optimization because everything is as it was. And just for a pre-rendered cutscene, that's a bit low. Probably Crysis 3 is not exactly the benchmarking game, to be honest. So well.
The kill radius and rate of fire is within manageable parameters.
Okay.
Let's jump into the grass and see what we get.
Like this one, sector 1, Delta 0.
47, 49.
Our primary target is Tower 3, Delta 3. As soon as you get the hardware, we'll knock the bastard out cold. Sector 1, Delta 3. Looks good.
Still doesn't really feel like 40 frames again.
Sector 1, Delta 2. Got something. Hit low and out of sight.
It looks pretty decent, to be honest.
Fucking obvious.
Yeah, there's clearly something I could do. Maybe there's something in the settings. Maybe the multi-sampling is just killing it. But anyway, just for consistency's sake, it's exactly what we've been using with 1080. And it's already more, so... when it comes to this game, you just need to be careful, I guess. Let's move on. Hey, hello and welcome back. And we are exactly where, well, we kind of left off. And it's with Odyssey. So we are at 4K running refresh rate native. Vertical sync, we're gonna crank this bad boy off all the way. Run a benchmark and see how it goes. So currently we are pushing 70 frames on standby screen, so I would expect this to actually be about 30 frame-ish. After that we're gonna try Breakpoint. But I know Breakpoint really hates 4K resolutions. So you're gonna do it anyway, just for comparison's sake as two Ubisoft titles. To be honest, we do have 3 Ubisoft titles in this video. I'm not sure which part is this gonna be in, but we're gonna see. So far we are kinda averaging around 40-ish frames in 4K with 1080 Ti. Oh, here we're seeing the dips. I would literally say we might end up around 28 frames. I would say everything maxed out and cranked for 1080 Ti kinda feels about 28 frame-ish when you look at it. And again, it's the big open spaces, stuff like that. We're not limited by even the amount of memory for the GPU. It's more about the speed of the CPU and the GPU that counts while showing and drawing all this. So, you know, it's a lot of calculations going on. Which again, I do believe can be optimized, but, you know, it is what it is. We're gonna see how it is. So we're just gonna wait and see. And we're at 41, even better than I expected. Anyway, so I guess that's our benchmark here, so 41 frames, and yeah. Let's take a look at the 3080 Ti. So 3080 Ti Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So let's just again quickly run through the graphics just to make sure we are still on the latest and greatest here. And all is looking good. Now the thing is, I've actually forgot to set on 4K, so just switch this real quick. And that's pretty much all there is to do. Now, on 1080 Ti, I've actually got 41 frame. So as long as we're beating that, it should be fine. So let's just do that and see where we end up. And for those who want to know, we are running on performance mode on the board. So there's a switch you can select between the quiet mode and performance mode. It's been on performance mode by default. So no big surprise here, to be honest. So let's see. 4K, ultra high, everything is, well, as it should be. The CPU is pegged. So we clearly are running in, well, only the 6 cores, no hyper-threading, clearly shows. The GPU is basically chilling 89-92%. So I would say without an overclock, i5-96 is probably a bit too short for 3080 Ti when it comes to it. And it's just being realistic, okay? First of all, for my 1080 Ti, it's completely fine for the simple reason the data transfer rate between the latency of the CPU and the latency of the GPU is perfectly in sync. In here, the GPU is basically waiting for frames to render, and we are already, well, basically constantly over 60. So I would say if Assassin's Creed Odyssey with 1080 Ti was 41 frames, I would expect to see at least 65-70. But again, let's take a look. And 61 frames. So we are basically limited by the CPU more than everything else. So yeah, this is a very good score in my opinion. Of course, you might want to consider something like an i7 probably, you know, with a bit more hyper-threading or a bit more cores, but if you happen to get a 3080 Ti with your i5-96, well, you're still gonna be 4K gaming 60 frames, which I believe is just insanely good results. So let's move on and just work down the list we have. Metro Exodus, obviously 1080 Ti 4K test. Everything is cranked out. I do believe at this point I don't have to prove it anymore.
It's been years since anyone's heard anything but static and white noise on the radio. Who could still believe we are not alone on this earth? My wife, my comrades from the Order, my friends, people from my station.
Looks like that was all of them. I'm glad they didn't notice us. That was a large pack. Oh, is this why the zone is off limits? I mean, if all the packs here are like that.
Then on 4K we are getting 30 frames, which is actually not too bad for this game at all. To be fair. Obviously, I know people will say, but how can we know it's 4K? There you go. Quality is extreme, vertical sync is off, motion blur is high. Advanced physics, hair works, damn, the whole 5 yards or 5 cents or whatever the saying is. Yeah, and without moving too much, it's actually pretty okayish. So 40-ish frames. Ooh, some division mechanic here. Auto mode. Okay. Oh wow. Can't rotate stuff. Anyway. That's fine. Anyway, enough playing around with this. Let's take this BTR and shoot the wife. I mean, let's just do something. This looks pretty undamaged. Why is it? Okay, I'll take that back. Anyway, so 40-ish frames. Let's go for the beast. And Metro Exodus, so let's just double check the options. Everything is obviously cranked out 4K, Ultra. RTX, ray tracing and DLSS is on, Hairworks is on, so well, basically cranked as usual. So let's just go and continue. See where we end up here.
When it has been years since anyone's heard anything but static and white noise on the radio, who could still believe we are not alone on this earth? My wife, my comrades from the Order, my friends, people from my station. Nobody believes me.
Looks like that is all of them. I'm glad they didn't notice us.
Okay, Anna, shut the fuck up. So, our frames with 1080 Ti was 40 frames, and currently we are at 7780 frames. So, well, pretty clear improvement. Not gonna lie, let's go try to drive a BTR a bit, same as last time. And Artyom is unable to jump. Because you don't need to jump in post-apocalyptic Russia anymore. Great. Great success. Where's the metal doors we found last time? I think I'm lost. At the same time, frame test is, well, pretty much done, I would say, and this is exactly as I thought. So if there's one thing I would actually want to see is how Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition runs on it. But again, seeing how all this works just flawlessly, I think it's gonna be just fine. 100 frames. Well, the 1080 was literally struggling, and not even, let's not forget about 970 and 980. How this game was definitely not playable on anything above Full HD, so I would say this kind of concludes it. So, the bottom line about this card. Absolutely amazing card. Even when coupled with i5, which is only 6 cores, no hyper-threading, all the games running off from SSD, and 16 gigs of RAM instead of 64, 128 obviously, which apparently is the new standard for some people. You can clearly play games on 4K, so the rumors are true. This is a 4K gaming card, and most of the titles, which I would say are, well, the most demanding, like the Cyberpunk and even Breakpoint and everything else, it's hard for me to find a title that would kind of cripple this game. And honestly, the only title that stood out with pretty low frames was Crysis III. But again, if you saw my previous videos about Crysis series, the franchise comparison low and ultra with the 980, 1080 Ti and 2080, it's clearly the game engine's fault rather than the hardware's fault, because we see similar frames throughout. Or maybe I just did something wrong. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys now, and thanks for watching. See you all next time.